easier.
Okay.
Has arrived. Lisa has arrived.
Good evening, everybody. Who do we have on the call so far?
Matt, this is Diane, and I will tell you who I have so far. I have Tina, Trish,
So far.
Larry, Charlie, Shanti, Chief Jewett, Chief Alcadino, Terry Caswell, Kate, Nancy, Lisa, and yourself.
Perfect. That was the last one this time. All right. So, let me get started. I think I heard that Trish was on. Trish, you want to give us a quick update on what you heard?
Absolutely. Okay, it wasn't a long call, which was nice. They decided they weren't going to repeat everything that they've been telling us every day, so that was wonderful. They did want to let us know that we have 34 first responder members quarantined statewide that were first responders, and reminding us that if any of our people do test positive, that they want us to update information on the web EOC, and I found the form that has to be done. So I would ask if we have anyone from either the police, fire, or EMS to let me know so that I can enter the proper information. Somebody asked if we're going to shut down, is what's happening in the state. And they said they had questions like, when is the best time to do it, if we're going to do it. And again, they're saying just what you're hearing probably on the news. Nothing's going to happen right now. They feel he wants to see the science behind what makes sense, if it makes a difference to shut down, and why. So if you're hearing those rumors, that's not happening. They also talked again.
Matt
has left the conference. Exposure or not exposure. And they're saying if you have signs and symptoms, then quarantine again for 14 days, which we're being reminded. I did call the health agent and asked if one of our town employees, because this was talked about, let's say travel by plane, boat, or train, can they come back to work or do they need to quarantine?
Matt, sorry.
Has arrived. Who did I lose? Was that Matt?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm back.
Okay, I'm going to start at the beginning of the sentence because you probably, as the chair, need to know this. So one of the questions was, obviously, if you have signs and symptoms, then quarantine for 14 days, which, of course, they've been telling us. After the call, I called our health agent and asked, because this question was posed, if one of our town employees has traveled by plane, boat, or train, can they come back to work or do they need to quarantine because they don't know who they were sitting beside? So even if they don't have symptoms, do they have to quarantine? The health agent said he hopes people would act responsibly and obviously if symptomatic, stay home. I'm going to add to that and say just to cover the town, possibly this is something the Board of Selectmen should weigh in on and maybe come up with a policy. Also, we talked about privacy issues. When calls come in, they will be asked questions. I think I shared that Rock Dispatch knows certain questions they can ask about travel. And if they give their name voluntarily, then can we share? There is now a letter that came on Saturday that I did share with Chief Jewett and Chief Alcadino. That is a waiver that a patient could actually sign and say, yes, I understand you're not giving my name publicly, but it can stay within the first responder, police, and fire so that that address is known. And if anyone else has to respond, they'll act accordingly and come protected. There's also a new primary update that came out on Saturday about workman's comp. I did call Nancy to confirm that she got it. She did, and police and fire got it. There's also a question about if you're a first responder and you go to your own doctor, and let's say they are symptomatic. What was happening is their forms or their test stuff was supposed to be sent to the special state lab, not the commercial lab, and the doctor seemed confused about it. So on the call, they did explain that the form has been changed if the doctors are using the correct one, and there's now a book has arrived. If it's police, has left the contents. Oh dear, my goodness, I must be aggravating people. So when the box gets checked off, it will actually go to the state lab and not to the commercial lab. So all the first responders don't have to worry about that. And that really was about it. I mean, the biggest things were making sure our first responders are okay, and if they travel, what do you want them to do about that? And I guess I'll say what I tried to do today was be a conduit between, Health, Nancy, Chief Jewett, Chief Alcadino, and Larry to make sure that everybody is on the same page and knows what's going on. Since I'm really the one doing the EOC right now, I thought that made sense that I just touch base with everybody. And that's it, Matt.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, I think that the two chiefs, because really what it comes down to is, and I guess transfer station 2, the only places that are open are fire, police, and transfer.
Has arrived.
Done a pretty good job of ensuring that people know if they're sick, stay home. And if they have symptoms, go ahead.
Just for the board, there's a few EMS companies. Trinity is one of them. Lawrence General Hospital is another one. Any EMS provider that does take a domestic flight has to not work for 14 days. But that was a company policy. This would have to be, in my opinion, a decision from the Board of Selectmen. Because if the fire chief says one thing and the police chief says another, it's not going to go anywhere.
All right, so I'll put it out there to both chiefs.
Kate Michaels has left the contents.
Policy, would that be of any issue to both chiefs?
Matt, I apologize. You'd have to start over because Kate left the conference, so I missed your first half.
Okay, sorry, and she'll probably be coming back as I say it again, but both chiefs, if we make it a temporary policy that if you fly, you're not working for 14 days, will that be an issue with anybody?
On the fire side, I only have one that is actually has flown into a state that has
Has arrived.
All right, Chief Alcadino, I think you were stepped on at the end of your sentence. You said you had one that you were worried about?
Well, one that has taken a domestic flight to Florida, and it's still in Florida. The other individual has canceled his trip due to his full-time employer policy that if he does take a domestic flight, he cannot return to work for 14 days. So he's canceled his vacation.
Okay. Chief Jewett, what do you think?
I don't think there'll be any issue.
Okay. So, anybody from the board want to make this a motion?
Yeah, I will move move to institute a policy for COVID that any employee who takes a flight must take a 14-day leave of absence.
What about buses?
Kate, do you want to second it for discussion?
Yeah, second for discussion.
Okay, now what was the question?
I believe that initially in this conversation, this policy also related to people who would take crowded train rides or buses, bus transportation, which is all down now anyway. Should this be, how do you guys feel about that?
Well, my understanding is what I move to do will fall in line with what other EMS departments and agencies are already doing. Would you agree, Chief?
If you're asking me, that is correct, but I can understand Kate's question. I mean, if you take a cruise ship, you're quarantined for 14 days. The CDC recommends basically, Christian, correct me if I'm wrong on it, it's trying to have everyone avoid mass transit, however you want to word it.
Correct.
All right, can I propose a friendly amendment that we change it to be a policy where any employee who takes mass transit must notify their supervisor immediately and be prepared for the possibility of a 14-day quarantine. What do we think about that, Lisa?
I think that's a little too vague and a little too open for interpretation.
That was purposeful. Because I think we need some interpretation. Here's the thing. I don't think we're going to have somebody else every day in this category. I think it's going to be a few people, and I think we need to leave it up to discretion, because otherwise, and I realize most things are shut down, but otherwise we're going to hear from somebody who took a bus from Maine to New Hampshire. That's, you know what I'm saying is unless we're going to make a very detailed sweeping policy, then I think we need to leave a little interpretation.
I just think if we're going to set a policy where if they're going to take mass public transit or mass transit, public or private, doesn't matter, if they're going to take a mass travel on mass transit, then they will need to take a 14-day leave of absence before they return.
Well, there's an issue that only, for example, in New York, which is different, non-essential workers, I have a friend who works at a hospital, non-essential workers are taking precautions, and they have to take a subway to work. They take all precautions, they work in hospitals, and the subways are basically empty. So I'm kind of with Matt on some interpretation here, because it's a very vague motion. I'm for a motion against the air travel, as leaving that as is, and then making a second amendment regarding mass transit separately. That's what I would suggest. Or
What do we think about that? I don't think that's a bad idea.
So does that mean no friendly amendment, and we're back to my initial motion?
Correct. So Kate was the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh,
Okay, so we're going to do it by roll call. I think that was everybody, right?
just make sure, please, that it was a roll call
I
vote.
was an aye as well.
Kate was an aye.
I'm sorry. But Kate was an aye, Lisa was an aye, Charlie was an aye. think Charlie was an aye. I counted 5. He was an aye. Larry was an aye. Okay, thank you. Okay, so you got that, Diane?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay, and I think, just for expedience sake, I'm going to make a motion that for any other mass transit, the employee must notify their supervisor as soon as possible and be prepared for the possibility of a 14-day quarantine. Can I have a second?
I second the motion. Kate Michael.
Any discussion?
I get that prepared for the possibility is the vague word that what I'm looking for is who's going to determine if there will be. I mean, do they report to their supervisor? Their supervisor makes the determination, or the selectman makes the determination. So should it be at the discretion of the board, at the discretion of the department head, or?
So I would say all of the above. It's a fluid situation. I think we need to get this out there to put people on notice, but I can't tell you hypothetically what's going to happen until it happens.
Well, first they would contact their supervisor and their boss, obviously, right?
And that gets us started. So intentionally vague is what I'm saying, because we just don't know what's going to happen.
And we'll learn as we go.
Yep.
Matt, can I interrupt even though I'm not a selectman?
Sure.
Okay, so one of the things on the call today, somebody said that if a first responder had traveled but didn't know if they came in contact with anyone, that they stay home for a certain amount of time and take their temperature every 2 hours and make sure they don't have a fever. So, maybe the public transit, like you're talking about, that could be something that the supervisors can remind their staff to do until they feel it's safe.
Yeah, we could do that. I think the purpose of my motion is basically to put people on notice. Believe it or not, I don't so much care about the people who have already been on mass transit. I care more about the people who might decide to do it. And by the way, just a gentle reminder, if you're not talking, you need to be on mute. I'm hearing a lot of background noise right now. So somebody needs to go on mute. So what are the boards? Any more thoughts from the board? So do we want to call for a vote on this? All in favor?
Aye.
That was Kate was an aye. Lisa?
I'm an A.
Okay. Larry? Aye. Charlie? Aye. Okay, so I'm an aye, so Diane, that's 4 and 1.
Got it.
All right, and basically we'll cross these bridges as we come to them, I guess. Okay. Something else I wanted to touch upon was Chief El Cadino. Nancy did some research for us. You had talked about perhaps extending some hours from some people, going from 25 to 35. I want to get the board's support of this, but what Nancy verified for us is if we motion that basically said, all right, I'm getting echoes, so somebody needs to go on mute. So
While in a conference room, you can press *0 to exit, dial *1 to enter a private consultation, touch *2 to get your caller code.
because I'm hearing a background conversation. Okay, I'm still hearing the background conversation. All right, so I'll try to get through it. So basically, what it would be is for the duration of the crisis, the board could okay Chief Alcadino to have some 25-hour limited EMTs go temporarily to 35 without any financial issues. So we're not giving them benefits or anything like that, but he would have the flexibility if he wanted to staff, certain hours, so these guys are always available. So, Chief Alcadino, anything you want to add to that?
The only thing, Mr. Chair, is right now the only time I cannot put just have two individuals respond to a medical is on the Saturday and Sunday unless the board votes on this. The game plan is we have a policy ready to go that clearly states that only 2 EMTs shall respond to all EMS calls for the duration of this pandemic. If help is needed, then we will tone out. Matt?
Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, that hour is 36 hours according to the email, not 35. Because he's doing 12-hour shifts, it's easier, 36 and 35.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, so anybody on the board have any questions on this?
I must have missed that email because I'm missing a piece of this conversation.
Yeah, I think Diane might have sent it out, or Nancy might have sent it out.
So we don't, our EMTs, they're on call, right? They're on call. They don't have a set number of hours. So are we looking to...
Exactly. What we're looking to do is, the chief can explain it more, but he's looking for the duration of this to ensure there's coverage by setting some watches, I guess is what I would say. Chief, can you explain further?
Yes. What I'm trying to do is we had a possible incident this weekend. A new EMT, which one of the individuals that signed on to respond, he had no idea on what his protocol is or what the fire department protocol is. So, which in my book is a liability to the town and to himself. What I'm trying to do is to ensure that seasoned, experienced EMTs are responded. And on a typical call, medical call, yes, in a call department, we could have 10 people respond to a medical call. What I'm trying to do is curtail that down to only 2 EMS personnel, plus the medic if needed, the brass if needed, on all medicals. And to do that, I already have it for at night, with them being on call like we do for the officers. Monday through Friday is covered. I just cannot cover it on Saturdays and Sundays using seasoned, experienced EMTs without going over the hours. But it's only temporary, it's not a permanent thing.
There's still somebody over that needs to mute their phone because I'm having trouble hearing you, Chief Alcadino. I apologize. I will do my best to capture what you just said.
Yeah, there's somebody who's not on mute. I think it's their TV. So if somebody's on the phone and has a TV on in the back, they should probably not on mute.
Okay, so just so I understand what we are talking about here, it's not that we're looking to staff for 36 hours a week for certain individuals or certain level individuals, but we want to allow them to work case cycles as well as the content. Is that correct?
I didn't get the back half, Lisa.
Okay, so staff or pay for 36 hours a week just to have them available, but we're looking to extend the maximum number of hours that they can take for call, correct?
No, that they would be, right now, I have 2 seasoned individuals that work Monday through Friday, you could say. They're maxed
So
out.
you're talking the duty officers. Is that what you're talking about, the duty officers?
Exactly. I want to, perfect. I want to extend that Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah. Okay, now I know what we're talking about. So we're talking about extending the duty officers from Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 or whatever, to Monday to Sunday, 8 to 4. Something like that?
Well, right. I have 2 individuals who split shift. I'm trying to extend them to go from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then there'll be 2 that will be on call. Obviously, a whole different rate, not getting paid for the same amount of hours from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. That way, the town will be covered with seasoned EMS personnel 24/7 until such time this pandemic is done. I can foresee we have a lot of new EMTs, and in this day and age, what we're going through now, if we put a non-seasoned EMT out there and they miss something, it's going to be more of a liability and a workers' comp claim.
Kate has arrived. We used to play, and we were lucky to be on the hospital.
Like, so, Lisa, does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
So what we're looking to do is extend the duty officers to up to 36 hours per week. Correct?
Yes.
Then that is my motion, to extend the duty officers to up to 36 hours per week during this pandemic. Second the motion.
Is there a second motion? Larry?
Yeah. But we love
Larry, you got
Who is having a conversation and not?
Can I make an amendment to that? And take duty officers out, and any individual from the fire department can work up to 36 hours a week, as per the order of the Board of Selectmen until this is over. Anthony has no problem.
You know what? Okay. So, Lisa, you still like that one?
That's fine.
Is it Kate was still the second? Okay, so we're gonna call for a roll call vote. Larry? Aye. Charlie? Aye. Lisa?
Aye.
And Kate? Kate was an aye?
I've got to say, yes, this background noise is incredibly disturbing. Should we all call in again? This is ridiculous.
I know.
Well,
Somebody-
it's like they have a filter. The person with the background noise isn't even paying attention to the call. Exactly. So who are they? We're going to freak you out.
All right, so let's
Is they there? Why are we? Can we roll call and whoever's not answering, we know it's them? It's not Kate.
Okay, what, Kate, can I make a suggestion here?
Peter Gagnon
Has arrived.
Can I make a suggestion?
finished the motion, so
Okay.
I did that, he has an aye. So that was 5 ayes.
Okay, but the motion was,
Okay.
Lisa, a motion to extend any employee?
Yes, so it was amended to extend the fire department personnel hours up to 36 hours per week, the duration of the pandemic.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, the other thing is, Somebody have a comment?
I'm here just to go ahead. I was just going to say I'm coming off of mute, and I thank the board.
Okay, thank you. What I'm going to ask is everybody hang up and call back in. Maybe we'll lose the person with the TV on in the background. Okay?
Well, if the person who's still, I don't think that's going to work because that person won't know to hang up.
Yeah, sure. That's a good point.
Well, maybe just
It won't ring.
call. We all hang up.
Can I make a suggestion?
It's not.
So let's go.
It doesn't work like that.
Can I make a suggestion, please? Hello?
Okay, let's get it. Diane, go ahead.
All right, so everybody please mute, and then I will call out each individual to unmute their phone. So everybody go to mute.
Sounds good. Go ahead, Diane.
Okay. Bob Leveroni, unmute. Bob, is that you? Okay, go back to mute, Bob.
All right.
Matt, unmute.
Hey, this is Matt.
Okay, mute again. Lisa, unmute.
Has left the conference. No, it wasn't me who left.
Okay, go back to mute. Larry and Charlie, unmute.
We're here.
Okay,
Down hall.
go back to mute. Tina, unmute. Tina O'Rourke. Tina, is that you?
Yep, that's me.
Okay, go back to mute. Trish McCarthy? Trisha, unmute. Trisha? Trisha, are you there? Okay, so we don't have Trish. Pete, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, go back to mute. Okay, Chief Jewett, are you there? Pete, go back to mute. Mike, is that you, Mike Jewett?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay.
Back to you.
Thank you. Shanti, unmute.
Yep, I am here by myself. No TVs. Going back to mute.
Thank you. Chief El Cadino?
I am here by myself, and just so you know, I don't hear the background noise anymore.
Okay. All right. So we can unmute everybody, and let's see what happens now. Thank you.
Has arrived.
Welcome back, Bob.
Diane, this whole time. I don't know.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, because nobody called my name, and I am here, and I have nobody in the room and no TV.
Sorry, I just skipped over you.
That's okay. I'm going back to mute now.
Okay. All right, Matt, I give it back to you.
Real quick, I wanted to cover. Who's that?
That was Tricia. I was trying to unmute. I don't know what I was touching, but I was here, and I am alone and have no TV on.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
I'm here too. Sorry, Captain.
All right, thank you. So, anybody we forgot? Anybody else? Okay. So, I wanted to get back to the building department issue. I think most people saw it from Diane and Shanti. So basically, we're kind of in a position where we were overstepping our bounds, like I talked about. So what we need to do is we need to clean up our previous motion or come up with a different one. Essentially, until the governor does anything, and a lot of people are telling him to, but if the governor puts a stop to construction, then that's it. We personally, I think what we need to do is we need to provide a means, which I think we're doing anyway, but we need to provide a means where people electronically, so basically zero contact, can engage building, can engage fire for permits, and then they can do their jobs. And at the same time, we can dissuade, I guess, but we can't put a moratorium on it. So, anybody on the board have any thoughts on that? Shanti, anything you wanted to add to that? Yeah, so I'm hoping that you all received the PDF emergency order number 11 that was issued today from Selectmen, outlining the construction process that's currently still in play in the future. If you haven't had a chance to read it, then you probably should, but if not, as you pointed out, legally, as of right now, the governor has said you cannot stop construction. As a matter of fact, if we're not set up to handle the permits, or if the applicant doesn't get a response from the building department within 30 days, they can commence their project. Now, when their project gets to the first stage of inspection, and they reach out to the building department once again, and if they don't hear back, or the building department cannot accommodate them within 5 days, then they're allowed to go on to the next stage of work. All the while, they would have needed to video or photograph or have an affidavit from an engineer, an architect, or a third-party inspector. But in no case can we tell them that they can't move forward if we're not able to inspect or issue that permit. So then the question really comes into play is, are we going to leave that work not after the revenue stream, and also let them check with regards to the process and to the standards that the state and also the town of Newton have been working for so many years, to establish. So, a few questions there. And one thing that I'll add is that currently we don't have the building an online friendly permitting process. So, I think that in probably a few hours, if the board wanted me to, I could come up with a template that we could put on the website, that the applicant could fill out. I could then review electronically, of course, and then we could take payment either now or at such a time that we are open to the public once again. The inspections, we can do it several ways: video, photographs, exterior inspections would be me.
Kate has left the conference.
So, and that's in a nutshell, that's what I have. Okay, good. Thank you. What is the board thinking on that?
My thinking is to have the building inspector and fire chief prepare the proposal for the board to approve for handling permits.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
This is more just for building. All fire permits, including the warden, outdoor burn permits, are all online. The fire department did a smoke and occupancy permit today for the new houses on South Main Street. So this is just building. Fire is all set.
Okay, so that's good. So I guess what we need is some sort of a motion to empower Shanti to come up with that template. And it doesn't really have to be a motion. I think it's more of a motion to accept it once it's done. But what's the rest of the board think about that?
Definitely.
Has arrived.
Okay, check. It sounds like Larry has no issues. And Charlie doesn't either. So, Lisa, what do you think?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, so let's not do this. Okay, Kate's good too. Let's do it this way. We don't have to make a motion for this because we're all in agreement. But if Shanti, if we want, we'll just have you go and do what your idea is, and then get it emailed out to Diane for the board to review. I think the key thing is, and I haven't looked at it in a while, but maybe Diane can tell us, or Lisa or Shanti, but on the website, do we have an electronic means of contact on the website? So if somebody Googles New Hampshire Building Department, is there a phone number they can currently reach somebody, or an email, not a phone number that's going to ring without somebody in the office?
I don't know if it has his town cell number or not.
So my cell phone number is on your site, and I have been getting some calls as a result of that. So, I will go ahead and put forth a proposal. Not only has the building permit application form, it also on fee schedule formatted to the public to read it. And then figure out the directions and then send it to the shop.
Oh, and that's just so that we are aware up front. Shanti's number 397644, and that's the town number. Correct, Shanti? Okay, and then Sam's number 4906379, and it is specified on Sam's name text for inspection, plumbing, gas, mechanical, and electrical. So I think it's pretty clear to anyone who goes to our site how to contact the building inspector.
Okay, good.
We will want to move the effective immediately, will not be issuing any permits until further notice, but other than that, their contact information is there.
Okay, so let's get whoever makes sense to remove that post of effective immediately. Leave contacts how they are, and then hopefully in the next couple of days, Shanti can show us a template we can vote to accept.
Okay, so this is Diane. Just to clarify, you want me to remove on the Department Building Safety webpage the effective immediately, the building department will no longer be issuing any permits until further notice?
So that's going to be a motion. That's a motion I just made, Diane, if that helps you.
No, I just want to make sure you want me to delete it. I just need to make sure you want me to delete it.
I'm sorry, say again, Diane?
I thought I heard Lisa say it should be deleted. I just want to make sure I heard it correctly, that you just want me to delete that line.
Sure, and I'm making it a motion so as it has effect as to not just the notice, but the policy. I second the motion. So, okay, thank you, Larry. So Lisa was a second as well, so I got 2 seconds, which is better than 1 second. So, Kate, are you an aye on this?
Aye.
And Charlie, are you okay with this? Yes. Okay, so we're going to call it 5. So thank you. Okay, I'm going to switch gears. And I also wanted to mention something that I was thinking about is, and we all know this, anybody on this call, but there's a lot of meetings that are coming up in the form of teleconferences because nobody can really meet because of the large crowd. So I'm hearing fast and furious about all these different telephone numbers that are going out with different meetings, different audiences and stuff. So what I'd like to ask the board's support on is we need to get a comprehensive list of what all these meetings are. And in addition to the list, we need to know who is attending on behalf of the town of Newton. And to me, I would want to see us have like one key
Newton contact attend these meetings and maybe a backup, right? So like Trish just briefed us on one meeting. I think that's Larry and Trish. If there's no other reason for anybody else from Newton to attend, I'd want to keep it with those two and then have them disseminate the information as appropriate. So what I think we need to do, if the board is okay with this, we need an action item. Everybody on this call who has any current meetings with a telephone number that they attend regarding COVID-19 needs to give that to Diane so she can make up a list. And then on that list, we need to know who's attending on behalf of the town. I personally, I have gone to a couple of these meetings as invited, but I don't see as though I, as a selectman, need to go to any of them as long as I'm being briefed by the appropriate people. So I'm asking the Board of Selectmen, does that sound like a plan?
It does to me.
Yeah, Trish, I posted the list in the office. We can send it to Diane tomorrow.
Great, and this means I agree with those plans. Could we also, so we can still call into the meeting if we so choose. Doesn't preclude you from doing it, right?
Well, I think that's what I'm saying, is if there's a need, then we need to know what that need is. Because I don't want to overcrowd it if somebody just feels that it might be good to sit in on it. I think we need to go based on need. Because these calls, like even this call, is getting crowded. Not that we have non-essential people on this one, but I just want to make sure there's, essentially what I'm saying is I want one pipe, I want one line of information coming back to the town rather than several, unless we need a backup, right? Somebody's caught in some other meeting and we have the backup. So more than two, we really need a reason why. Like if there's a meeting that has both, needs a fire chief, a police chief, and an EMD, then obviously we're going to have all those people on the call. But if they're not needed, let's not have any more. So that's what I'm proposing. All right, so it sounds like there's an existing list. If we can get that to Diane, that's great. And anybody who has any others they think are not on that list, get them to Diane. When Diane thinks she has a draft list, if she could get it out to the board for review. So, all right. Anything I'm forgetting? I just went from memory. Is there anything on the list, Diane, that you keep that I missed?
Well, you still had, from an action item on Friday, you still had the continuation of compensation for first responders, or is that all set now?
I think based on Nancy's email over whatever
Okay.
day that was, I think that's been fixed, right, Nancy? That sound familiar?
Which one is that, Matt?
You had a email from Primex that weighed in on what would happen with these folks if and when somebody missed work for
Yeah, they can do the work as comp claim and they will approve.
All right, cool. So thank you. That one should be all set. Anything else, Diane?
You have the new conference call phone number?
Okay, so basically, this is my brother's conference phone number, so he's telling me I can't use it anymore. So we got a new one just for us. So for the next meeting on Wednesday, check your meeting invite because Diane will send you the new phone number. Don't use this one. So,
Thank you.
all right. Anything else, Diane?
Yep, there's just the town hall renewal of the firewall license and warranty. I need something on that.
Okay, before we get to that, COVID-19 related, anybody have anything they want to share, they want to get out there? they need us to work on. What's everybody thinking?
Matt, this is Tricia.
Go ahead.
Okay, my only question about this new phone number, if Diane has to send out an invite, somehow because this is a public meeting, we have to let the public have access to this number.
Yes, and
That's the form of
that's,
question.
I will take care of it. I will update the agenda that's on the website with the correct information.
Perfect, thank you. That could also explain our TV in the background issue.
What's that?
Excellent
Just
point.
some random person you're thinking? Yeah. If we could identify what show it is, we could triangulate and maybe find the person through Comcast. Maybe the cable committee can help us with that. Put
They
that
can't-
down as an action item, Diane.
Oh, sure, right away.
Put it down to the corner.
Any other COVID-related concerns? Yes, Bob.
Matt, I have one. Oops, sorry, go ahead,
I
Bob.
think I heard. Go ahead, Bob.
Hi, this is Bob. I just want to emphasize that people need to continue social distancing. So important. Each individual needs to take their own precautions, which also reduces the risk of somebody else becoming infected. So social distancing is absolutely number one. Stay at home if you don't have to be out. Work from home if you can possibly do that. And right now there's been 101 cases in New Hampshire. 23 were new today. And the first death was also today stated on WMUR. Brings you up to date on most day-to-day updates. 6 inches away from people, 6 feet away from people is so important. And if you have children, home learning online is so important. And even with children who have children in the neighborhood and friends, you need to keep them at home. It's just so important that people take their personal precautions to avoid picking up this virus. So social distancing is number one. And that's always reiterated on television, everywhere else. Stay 6 feet away from people. If you have to communicate with people, stay 6 feet away from them. And anyone who wants to call me at anything, my phone number is 603-498-8028. Feel free to call me day and night, weekends, at any time, 24 hours a day.
All right, thank you, Bob. That's I can't highlight that enough. We need that people to remember that over and over again. That's what's going to get us through this the fastest by doing all that stuff. So
Can I just ask, can I ask a quick case? Can I ask a quick question to Bob, please? This is Diane.
Sure. Go ahead, Diane.
Bob, did you want your telephone number
Yes.
public?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay,
Anybody can call me at any time of the day, and I can give them an update as best I can to whatever their question may be. But absolutely, my phone number needs to be public.
okay. I just wanted to make sure. I didn't want to put it out there if you didn't want it public.
Not a problem.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
And I got calls today from the police department, and they're going out on domestic issues, whatever. Wear gloves, wear a face mask. Do what you need to do to protect your own health in dealing with these situations that arise in the community. But take number one precautions for yourself, and I just can't emphasize that enough.
Thank you. Nancy, you had some?
Yeah, did any of you get that email from NHMA regarding public meetings and the right to know?
Yes, I think we all saw that one.
All right, so my question is, what does the planning board do in the Board of Appeals? I know they've rescheduled their 24th meeting, but, you know, are they gonna try and do teleconferencing or whatever so that they can do what they need to do, or? I'm not
So
sure.
I think the short answer is that they should push it out as far as they feel they can. You know, I think as we go along, we'll know how long this is going to last. But if they had to have a meeting tomorrow, if they met exactly the way we're meeting right now, they would be in line with the kind of, I won't call it a restriction, but the new guidance. So they would have to have one person in the town hall with the door open and the ability for somebody from the public to engage, and they could have everybody else on the phone.
Okay, because my concern was I was getting emails from one of the new planning board members asking who the chairman was and, you know, who's going to be, you know, there to swear in the other member. And, you know, and I'm like, that's a moot issue right now. We're not there yet. But I'm just thinking, if they're thinking of doing a meeting, somehow they need to know that they can do it this way.
Yeah, so I would basically share that 91A guidance with them, with whoever is Roger Hamel the vice chair as of before the election?
He told Annie that he was acting chair, and they really can't do anything until they meet and vote.
True. So I would give him and Jim Doggett the 91A stuff, and they can make their own decision. But I think us as the Board of Selectmen, who are in control of the town hall, would advise them to push it out as far as they think they can, because you know, whatever it is, I think April 7th they were talking about, or no, that's ours, April 7th. So theirs would be the 14th.
Tricia McCarthy has left the conference.
So one would hope by April 14th, you know, they would know better as to what to do. But obviously, if they had to have a restructuring meeting, they could do it just like we're doing this one.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Hello, Bob Laverly.
Hi. Hi, Bob.
One thing I just want to reiterate is if you wash your hands as many times as you can during the day, if you're out shopping, if you're in your car, wherever you are, as many times as you can wash your hands for a minimum 20 seconds with soap and water is so beneficial from transporting that virus to your cell or deep wolf.
Has left the conference.
Purposes. Cardboard, keep in mind, when you get these packages from Amazon or wherever, cardboard absorbs this virus more than a lot of other substances. So if you get a box from, say, Amazon or wherever, let it sit outside for 4 hours before you open it. And then obviously wash your hands immediately afterwards, because cardboard has the ability to maintain this virus for a minimum of 4 hours if it's on the box. And you don't know who's been holding that box, how many people have, handled that box since it came off the floor at Amazon and arrives at your door. So, in the best interest of everybody, wash your hands as many times as you can, and be careful of cardboard that arrives at your house in packages. Same with your mail. Be careful of opening mail. So many people handle your mail before it gets put in your mailbox or at your front door. So take in mind that you need to wash your hands as many times as you can.
All right, thank you, Bob. Diane, the server thing, if you just want to read it off and consider it a motion by me that we can vote on.
Sure. So are you going to authorize me to sign it? Okay, so Matt,
So
you're making a,
read off what we-
so, you're gonna authorize Secretary Moran to sign the renewal for the firewall license and warranty for 1 more year. Do you wanna know the price, I suppose?
Yes, please.
Yep, okay, the cost, let's see, hold on 1 second. For a total of $587.
All right, can I get a second on my motion?
I second that.
Thank you, Lisa. Any discussion? All right, members of the board, Kate, how do you vote?
Aye.
Kate's an aye. Larry, how do you vote?
Aye.
Charlie, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right, Lisa, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Matt's an aye. So the motion passes.
Okay, I'll get that to them and then we'll, firewall and we'll be, good to go for another year. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So with that, I'm going to close the meeting unless anybody has anything else. All right, hearing nothing, I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you, Lisa. And 7:03. And we'll be talking to. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Larry and Charlie, Selectmen.
Has left the contents.
John Alpadino.
Has left the contents. Teresa Cassoff. Has left the contents.
Mike Stewart.
Has left the contents.
Peter Gagnon, Transfer Station.
Has left the contents.
There's nothing to speak, but everybody in the board, it was cool. It was like, but watching him come there, it makes you kind of scared.